talk to you guys. Now that we're on the bus, we can go over some school bus safety. As you noticed, when I stopped the bus and looked at you all at the bus stop, I had my hand up like this. That means stop. That means I'm not ready for you to get on the bus yet, because what I have to do as the bus driver is check all my mirrors in the surrounding area around the bus to make sure that all the cars have actually stopped. Believe it or not, they don't always stop. So that's why we do the hand signals on the door side, and of course if you're crossing the street. We'll get to the crossing the street later. When you are waiting for the bus in the morning, you stand at an area called your place of safety, and your bus driver should assign this place to you. This is a place that is a safe distance away from the edge of the road so that you're out of harm's way while you're waiting on the bus. And then at the end of the day, when you get off the bus, you go back to that place of safety and you stay there until the bus pulls away. That way the bus driver can continue to check the surrounding area around the bus and count you once you've exited the bus to make sure everybody's there that should be, and make sure they know where you are before they start pulling the bus away. Make sense? Okay. Bus drivers will typically assign seats. Now this year, we are telling them, just like last year, they have to assign seats. That helps us for, right now, COVID procedures. If anybody is sick and there's a close contact, we know right where you should be sitting. Assigned seats also help keep the bus organized to where when you're getting on the bus, you know exactly where you're going, straight to your seat, sit down, and we can keep moving quickly. So that helps having assigned seats in that way as well. So there is a proper way to sit on the bus. Most people know that. A lot of people don't. And that would be with your bottom, of course, on the seat, your back against the back of the seat, and your feet toward the floor directly in front of you, not out to the side. And the reason that is if you look around, there are no seatbelts on these buses. The driver has one, but passengers do not. So if you're sitting the correct way in the seat, facing forward, legs right in front of you, that means when this bus has to stop very quickly, you have protection right in front of you. So this pad in front of you kind of works as the seatbelt. Now, if I am not sitting the right way and I'm out here hanging out, talking with my friends, not paying any attention, and this bus has to stop very quickly, what's going to happen? I'm not necessarily going to get stopped by the seat. I'm going to fall straight to the floor. Could hit my head, could be an injury of some sort, so that's why it's so important for you guys to sit the right way on a bus so that you have the most protection you can, since we do not have seatbelts. A lot of people ask, why don't we have seatbelts on a bus? Some buses do, some don't. A bus like this, if we packed it completely full, can hold 77 people. That is a lot. If we had 77 people in a seatbelt and this bus ever got into a wreck or rolled over or fell on its side, typically when you're in a car and the car gets jolted, what does your seatbelt do? It locks up. It gets really tight and you can't move. Well, if that happens to 77 people on a bus, the bus driver has to try to climb through the bus and cut every one of your seatbelts to get you out. We don't necessarily have a lot of time if we've been in an accident, so that's why it's actually safer to not have the seatbelt on a bus. If there are any students that are in sports or play an instrument, a lot of times you'll bring your equipment or your instrument with you on the bus, which is fine so long as we have room for it. The best place to put that would be in the seat with you. If it can stand up right in front of you, that's fine. If it can sit on the seat beside you, that's also fine, just as long as it's not out in the aisleway to make anybody trip, and as long as it's not up in the air so that it can fall over and hit somebody in the head if the bus turns. So there's another rule on the bus that a lot of people think drivers are just being picky with. It's actually part of Ohio Revised Code, which is considered to be law for school bus. It's recognized as law. When we say that there's no eating or drinking or chewing gum on the bus. And that is because it's a choking hazard. Being students on the bus, you guys don't have to worry about what's going on outside the bus. So you don't necessarily know if a driver's going to have to stop quickly or hit a bump or something like that. And if you're eating something or chewing something, it could bounce down your throat, you could choke. And if you're sitting all the way in the back, the bus driver may not know that you're even choking. So it's going to be hard for them to help you if they don't know there's an issue. And we don't want any problems on the bus. We'd hate for somebody to pass out from choking and not being able to breathe. But again, if the driver can't see you all the way back there and know that you need help, they can't help. So windows, there are a lot of windows on a school bus. We open those for fresh air. Obviously, it is very important not to ever stick your head or hands or anything out the windows. If you look at how tall a bus sits off the ground, these windows are kind of in line with all of your street signs, your stop signs, everything that you pass on the road. So if you stick your hand out the window or your head, there's a good chance that you might get bumped by something or even a tree branch. So that's why we keep everything, hands and feet, inside the windows at all times. Emergency exits. Okay, so I'm going to have a volunteer help me with this one, probably you since you're the farthest back. So we have 4 emergency exit windows throughout the bus. There's 2 on each side, and they open, and when they open, there's an alarm that goes off. The only time we would ever probably really use those windows to get out of the bus is, like I said, if a bus gets in an accident and falls onto its side, maybe we can't get out the top, or maybe we can't get out the door or something, we can flip those windows all the way open and we can climb out. Same thing with the big door in the back of the bus. It works as an emergency exit. Even the roof hatches up here can open up. Again, if the bus were to fall on its side and we open those roof hatches, you can crawl right out rather than having to climb and pull. So if you will go to the very next window behind you, grab that red handle, pull up on it. Now push the window all the way out and latch it back. Good job. The roof hatches kind of work in a similar way. We won't go ahead and open those because sometimes they're difficult to close. The back door also opens fully. There are 3 emergency evacuation drills that we practice every year. It's a state requirement. We have to practice those 3 drills. The first one is when everybody goes out the rear of the bus. Now, the reason we would send you out the rear of the bus would mean maybe there's an issue up here with the engine. Or maybe there's a small fire or something that started in the engine and we want to get out away from it. So it only makes sense to take the people that are sitting closest to where the issue is and getting them out of here first. So we would start with the front seats and work our way towards the back, everybody going out the back. Now, a lot of people, when we do these drills, think, ooh, this is fun time, we get to go out the back. Not so much fun. Again, these buses are really high, really tall. You can't just jump out the back door because you might stumble when you land. You might not land correctly. I've seen people twist ankles, so you don't want to fall. So the best way to get out the rear door is to squat down, and then you can hop out. Or if you sit down on the floor, you can slide out or scoot out. Another one of our evacuation drills is the simplest one. We do it every day. Everybody comes out the front door. Now, we would do everybody out the front door in an emergency if there's something wrong with the back of the bus. So we would want to pull the people who are closest to the danger first from the back, working our way forward. So ones in the back will be the first ones off. The ones in the front will be the last ones off. And then our third drill that we practice every year is a split evacuation drill. We basically go to the middle of the bus and say, everybody in the back half, start in the middle, work your way towards the back and go out the back door. Everybody in the front half, start in the middle, work your way towards the front door. And that's probably the quickest way to get everybody out. The key is when we practice those drills to treat them seriously and to listen quietly to the instructions of your driver. That way nobody gets confused or misunderstands what we're doing. That way we can all stay safe. Most bus routes get to experience going over railroad tracks. Now, when we get to a railroad track, what the bus driver has to do is they have to stop the bus, they have to take it out of gear, and they have to put the parking brake on. They have to open their window and the front door, and they have to look and listen both ways at least twice to listen for a train. It is important, the listening part, because a lot of our railroad tracks have brush that has grown up to where you can't see down the tracks or there's something blocking their view, so that's why it's so important to listen. And we ask all the passengers to please be quiet. Last thing we want to do is start pulling that bus across the tracks if there's a train coming. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, those railroad tracks have those big arms that come down, or those big gates and the red flashing lights. Well, those are controlled electronically, but if the power's out, those aren't necessarily going to work. So that's why we still have to stop and listen for a train. Cell phones. This gets brought up every year. A lot of people like to have their cell phones on the bus. When we look in the bus driver handbook and guidelines, it is okay for you guys to have your cell phones so long as they do not become a distraction to the bus driver. So that means if you're sitting there maybe playing a game or something, keeping quiet to yourself, that's perfect. Can't be blaring music or things like that to distract, because the bus driver needs to be in control of all noise. Now, if you start taking pictures and stuff like that, that's where we have problems, because everybody that rides a bus is under the age of 18. So legally, we cannot take pictures of anybody on the bus unless we have parental consent from their parents. So we got to keep that in mind when we're taking pictures with our friends and everything else. It's not always the best thing to do when we're on the school bus. So if your bus driver asks you to put your cell phones away, just do it. You can get back out when you get home. No big deal. Also, headphones. Some people like to listen to their music. Some drivers will let you do that. We would like it if you only put one earbud in instead of two. That way you can still hear the driver if there's an emergency or something happens. When you go outside to get off the bus, exit the bus, whether you're staying on the door side or crossing the street, both earphones or earbuds need to come out. That way you have the biggest ability to hear anything that may come about. A lot of times, maybe on Friday afternoons, we might want a friend to ride the bus home with us. Most cases, that is okay, but we have to have a note signed from each parent that gets turned into the office asking for that permission. The office will then contact me at my office to see if we even have room on that bus, because a lot of times we don't have room for extra riders. We have a lot of people riding buses this year. So just know that if you want a friend to ride home with you, it may or may not be able to happen. So we talked about how to sit on a bus. When it comes to standing up, when it's your turn to get off the bus, you never want to stand up while the bus is still moving. The air brakes on a bus are very touchy, very sensitive. So we may be trying to stop very easy and lightly, but if we hit a bump and bounce the pedal, the brakes could trigger a little bit harder. So that's why you don't want to stand up until the bus is stopped, because you could go flying forward or backward or fall down. Again, some of you do sports. Sometimes your class during the school year will go on a field trip. All of the rules are the same on the bus, whether you're riding it just to and from school, whether you're on a field trip, whether you're on a sports trip, you still have to follow all the same rules. So it keeps it pretty simple. You don't have to learn new rules. Everything stays the same. You basically want to try to keep the same conduct that you would inside a classroom. Low voices, respectful of everyone. That way we can all get to where we need to get safely, quickly, and have a great time. We're going to talk about when you go to get off the bus and you have to cross the street. Now, we're just doing this as if we were going home, but the same thing would happen if we were coming to pick you up in the morning and you had to cross the street. Obviously, the first thing you want to do is stay in your place of safety until the bus driver gives you a signal to come toward the bus. So when the bus driver pulls up and they stop, you're going to see their hand up like this. We already know that means stop. So if you're getting on the bus in the morning, when we drop your hand straight down, that means it's okay to cross the road. But what you should do before you step onto the road is, we've learned this since we were little, look both ways. If it still looks good, then we continue crossing. If the bus driver honks the horn, that means there's some danger that has come about that we can't see. So we need to stop and look around. If we can't see that danger, we look right to the bus driver to see what we're supposed to do. Now, what we're going to do is pretend like we're getting off the bus and we're going to cross the street to go home. So when you get off the bus, you're going to go down the steps. You're going to walk 10 steps or 10 feet, roughly, along the edge of the curb toward the front of the bus. This bus will actually help you out because it has a yellow crossing arm that sticks out in front of the bus. So if you go out as far as at least that crossing arm, we know you're out far enough to where the bus driver can see you and you can see the bus driver. So again, the bus driver will have their hand up like this. The bus driver is then checking all their mirrors and looking around the bus to make sure traffic has stopped. When they put the hand down, you start to cross the road, but you're only going to go halfway. You're going to go to the other edge of the bus and you're going to stop. And what are you going to do? Look both ways. Make sure there's no cars coming, and then you continue across the street to your place of safety. And that's where you stay until the bus leaves. Again, if the bus driver honks their horn at any time, you need to stop what you're doing and look around and see if you can see danger. If not, then you need to look to the driver to know what to do. Now, the reason that is so important is I've had kids outside the bus before to where I've seen all traffic stops. I get ready to let them cross the street to go home. They start to go, and a car decides they don't want to wait behind me, and they fly around the bus. That would be a time that I hit that horn and try to stop you. So that's why we say you stop what you're doing when that horn honks and you look around. If you can't see, at that point, if you're maybe halfway, you wouldn't be able to see that car coming. So then that's why you look at the bus driver and we send you back to safety. So let's go ahead and try that. We're going to pretend like we're coming up. We're going to stop. You're going to exit the bus. Again, you're going to go 10 steps directly forward, and then you're going to watch for my hand signal. But you have to remember when you get halfway to stop and check traffic before you cross the road completely. And then we're going to continue over to our place of safety. Let's just say today it's going to be this white line over here. Once we get over there, not the white line right beside the bus, but the very next one, that'll be our place of safety. And then that's where we stand and wait until the bus leaves. Ready back there? Mm-hmm. All right, so I see everybody outside waiting. I'm checking traffic, making sure everybody's stopped. We're going to drop our hand, and they start to cross. And they come halfway, and they look both ways. They see that it's clear, and then they continue on to their spot. Takes off and waves goodbye. Good job.